Are you looking to spend more than $15,000 on the iPhone 14 Pro Max and sure if it's worth the upgrade, or maybe you just like the color purple and you figured, hey, why not? Or you're like, what's the dynamic island all about? But if you have trouble making decisions, let me do the honor. So I decided to blow some money on the iPhone 14 Pro Max to help you decide whether the iPhone 14 Pro Max is the one for you. And all I ask in return is for you to like and subscribe. Let's get it. Awesome. So we got the iPhone 14 Pro Max. We're just going to peel the sticker on the top right here. So let's get that going. And then the bottom, and let's take the lid right off, and we have the iPhone 14 Pro Max right here. It's just a quick look at the color, but we're just going to set it aside. That is the deep purple. Take a look at what else we get here. We have the charging cable here. So we have the Type-C Lightning. Kind of disappointed that we still don't get the USB Type-C support on iPhone 14, but there are some speculations that it will be available on the iPhone 15, but that is for another video. And we also get some paperwork and an Apple stick. Now the main attraction, the deep purple, just looks absolutely stunning. I really like this color, and one thing I must point out is that the camera module at the back is slightly larger than the previous models. And in the front, you can get a slight idea of the dynamic island up top here. And we have finally moved away from the massive notch to a hole punch cutout. And looking around, down at the bottom, we have a microphone or lightning connection and one of our speakers. On the right side, we have a power button. And up top, we can see that camera bump, which by now is pretty standard in the industry. Now, to the left side, we have our silence switch. And just below that, our volume rockers. Now, another close-up look at the deep purple. The color does shift depending on how the light hits it. Sometimes you get this dark indigo color. And sometimes it shifts to a more purple finish under the light. And even looks kind of darkish gray under low light situations. And now with the camera module, we have that triple lens system. We have the new 48 megapixel main shooter and two 12 megapixel lens. One is an ultra wide and the other is the telephoto lens. Now taking a look at the display for the first time on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, this is a 6.7 inch OLED display, and right out of the box it is on true tone mode. You do have the option to turn it off if you don't prefer the blue tone. Scrolling down, we also have the always on display toggle to switch between on and off. Keeping it on, I'm going to lock the phone, and here it is, the always on display. It's interesting because in the Android phones the screen does go black, but then they have these text like date and time and notifications. But on the iPhone we get a dim version of our wallpaper, and I guess one of the issues with this is when you have the phone locked away on your desk with the always on display. Personally, I would kind of hesitate and look back at my phone just to make sure it is actually locked, and I really think the always on display is a little bit too bright for my liking. Now coming back to the display, the screen real estate, or when it comes to screen real estate, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is the king. You get so much space to view your content, like when you're watching Netflix or Disney Plus or looking at text messages. Everything just feels more true to life. Now with all the screen real estate, one thing I would suggest, it's about time that Apple brings in a split screen mode that a lot of Android phones have, like the Samsung S22, where you can multitask and have like one section for one, like maybe you're watching Netflix and you're searching on Google something else. And I think that would be something really nice to have, maybe even the iPhone 15. But the display, like I said, viewing experience is amazing. Couple that with the OLED screen, everything is just absolutely perfect. So now the question is the iPhone 14 Pro Max a one-handed device? Well, I guess this is obviously a subjective issue, but in my opinion, I think with the new iOS 16 update, the phone has shifted more towards supporting one-handed use, but realistically it's still a two-handed device. Even going to edge on the phone is difficult. We're using one hand and you might find yourself moving the phone around to reach your corners, but nonetheless, I think it's still worth it for that beautiful viewing experience. Now shifting to the battery, I've been having long days where I'm out and about, and give me a peace of mind knowing this phone can last me a whole day no problem while taking breathtaking videos. And when I need a boost in battery, I just need a couple minutes on charge and I'm good to go for a few more hours. Now the highlight feature of the iPhone 14 Pro Max is the dynamic island, which is designed in a way to hide your pill-shaped notch with these pop-up notifications. Surprisingly, it's probably the most useful feature on the iPhone. If you look at the screen from an off axis, you can see two different cutouts, one for the front-facing camera and the other for the rest of the sensors, and they chose to turn it off, and they chose to turn off all the pixels in between, which is a great design move. Initially, I thought the dynamic island was some sort of gimmick, but it makes a huge change to the overall user experience. You get all these different kinds of system alerts, which range from pop-up when you're connecting AirPods to when you plug in your phone to start charging, and each alert has its own animation. A lot of thought has been put into the design of this feature, and with more apps optimizing for this, the dynamic island could potentially be one of the best features of the iPhone. Overall, is the phone worth it? Well, it really depends where you're coming from. Now, if you're using currently an iPhone 13 Pro Max or 12 Pro Max, I would tell you to hold it out, wait it out till maybe the iPhone 15 or maybe even the iPhone 13 Pro Max will be a suitable option for you. But if you're like, hey, I got a couple $1,000s to blow, go for it. Now, if you're using an iPhone 7 or a 10, I would say it's worth it. It is a good upgrade in terms of features, to getting better camera, better display, longer battery life. Overall, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is a solid phone. Now, the question where it comes is whether it's not worth or a good upgrade from the 13 Pro Max or 14 Pro Max. Because ideally, the only few upgrades I see is just a slight bump up in battery life and a slight bump up in the camera quality, and you just get that extra feature dynamic island, and maybe that isn't worth $1,000 to blow. And if you like this video, make sure to like, share, subscribe this video, and till next time, peace.